All right, we'll call this City Council Special Meeting agenda for Monday, August the 25th, 2025 at 4 o'clock p.m. to order. Roll call certification of quorum. Madam Secretary, certify a quorum is present as all members are present. Citizens' comments, were there any turned in? Nope. With that, we'll move to new business presentation regarding the fiscal year 2026 proposed budget. With that, Trent, we'll turn it over to you guys.
Thank you, Mayor, and good afternoon, Council. I want to welcome everybody to budget amendment, or budget number 3 workshop. I want to thank the budget team again for all the hard work they've done, as well as the departments. We had several questions from the last workshop that we provided answers back to you through a memo attached to the agenda item tonight, as well as a brief presentation to hopefully wrap things up on our workshop portion of the budget adoption process this year. As emphasized throughout this, we focused on our strategic priorities, and within that, a focus on our personnel as well as additional funds and streets, with an emphasis on controlling our operational expenses within the different funds. That results in a budget supported by a tax rate that's just a penny over the no new revenue rate, and well below the voter approval tax rate, and 0.5 cents lower than our current tax rate. So with that, I will hand it over to Rachel Winslow, our Head of Office Management and Budget, to go through the presentation tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Welcome to our last budget discussion for the year. So tonight we're just going to go over a few brief things because we think we answered all your previous questions in a memo. One of the questions that came up is streets and sidewalks, so we'll talk about that a little bit more in the context of our property tax rate, as well as the history of our water and wastewater rate model. So the big picture for our general fund is that we do presently have a balanced budget, and we are meeting our 25% policy minimum with $313,000 over policy minimum, or 91 days of reserves. With that in mind, our option to maintain the 63-cent property tax rate and increase funding to streets and sidewalks would be to utilize that $300,000 amount over policy minimum to increase the streets and sidewalks from $2.3 million to $2.6 million for fiscal year 26. This would have no impact on our proposed property tax rate and include an overall increase of $800,000 for the streets and sidewalks from FY25. And it would be the largest general fund commitment for streets and sidewalk rehabilitation in the general fund operating budget since we started tracking these dollars specifically. For the water and sewer operations, we included a slide on the history of the rate model projections since fiscal year 22. In 2022, we only included 2 years of projections, and then in fiscal year 23, we expanded that out to be a 5-year projection to match our capital improvement plan. So our rate model is a tool primarily to set the rate for the current fiscal year in order to meet those operational and debt metrics that we just talk about. The future year forecast is there to keep all of us informed and to help us make those good decisions for the future. But it is just a forecast, and it does depend on a number of variables, such as set growth factors, debt issuance, and debt payments. So that is why those numbers fluctuate as we move into those periods. The rate model can be very impacted by weather. And so also in this time frame, we have completed or are in the process of completing over $500 million in capital improvements, from the JHEC rehabilitation to the surface water plant, as well as Berry Rose and Longwood, that have been completed and or budgeted. So that's the history of the rate model. After this discussion tonight, we will have the first reading of the budget on September 8th, as well as the budget public hearing, the first reading of the tax rate, and the non-development fees. A note on the tax rate: since the maximum proposed tax rate was set at 63.5 cents, all of the public notices and the original agenda item for the adoption of the tax rate will be at that 63.5 cents. We will make sure there is language included so that it can be amended down to 63 cents to match the proposed budget. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Mr. Epperson.
So we'll hand it back to council and mayor for any questions or clarifications.
All right, we'll open up for questions, comments, and concerns from council. Mr. Carbone, start with you.
Yeah, if I can start with those last comments. So the budget presented is at 63 cents, yet all the resolutions, everything's going to be coming forward is going to be at 63 and a half.
That's correct, because the maximum tax rate proposed was 63.5. That was voted on and approved. After speaking with our tax rate consultant, she said that that's the technically approved tax rate at this time.
Okay.
Is that the way we've always done it?
We have not previously successfully adopted a maximum tax rate that was higher than the proposed budget. We proposed one last year, but it was amended down. So we have not had a maximum tax rate set that was higher than the proposed budget in recent memory.
That's fair. All right, any other questions, comments? We're gonna be that quick?
Man, I'm still squirming because we got 4 of us up here. I know that want 63 cents based upon prior meetings. And so everything's going to be published. It's all going to be teed up at a higher rate than what the budget is that we've talked about this whole time. That just seems extremely odd.
Yeah, I can't explain exactly why the legislature within the laws and setting all that set it up that way. But while we have to adhere to that, the full intention is to adopt at the 63 rate that we've talked about throughout the budget process.
Member Carbone, if I may, I think that the city is prepared to have an ordinance and resolutions reflecting both tax rates. The one that you're going to see is going to be the one reflecting the actions from last week's meeting. However, we'll have the numbers ready, anticipating that there's a possibility to come in at the budget at the 63 cent instead of 63.5 cents. So if and when we get a motion, when that item comes up on the agenda, we'll be prepared one way or the other.
Thank you.
I guess that's something that's definitely changed over the years, because even a dozen plus years ago, you might have a max rate of here that you talk about, but yet our budget was here, and then you get to budget time and approve the budget, and there was never in tax rate, there was never an amendment to adjust it, so just odd. And again, I think the 63.5, just as we're talking through the budget, gives us just the talking room. And as I said that night, I fully anticipate we approve one at 63 even, not the 63.5, but it gives us the walk room if we need to. We discover something that we need to go and fund. So, questions, comments? Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, I'll echo that. That is odd, but that's the law. That's the law. We just need to make sure we do it right. I'm just going to say I appreciate staff over the last couple of weeks talking through some of these conversations and understanding there's maybe some competing perspectives and coming up with the proposal to kind of meet in the middle and add that overage in so that we could stay at 63, but also put some more funds into our streets and sidewalk fund that I know has been a priority we've been talking about for a while. So I think that's great. And it's not necessarily budget related, but while I've got the opportunity and we've got so much staff in the room, just wanted to share with everybody over the last, I'd say, week and a half, I've probably had no less than a half dozen people stop me that either live in our city, but actually are related to people that live in our city, just to say how much their family loves living here and how well run our city is, how much they enjoy the community that they live in. And that's a testament to what y'all do each and every day. And it's reflected in what you're doing here in the budget as well. But you don't always get to hear that. I get to hear it. You guys don't. And so I wanted to share that with y'all. It seems to be a repetitive theme here lately. So you're doing a great job and people are seeing it, even people that don't live here. So thank you for all you guys do.
Questions, comments? I got a quick question. Slide 9 on the presentation, I think it is, with the history of rate model projections. Right there. Okay, 6 here is 6. Put my glasses on, maybe I can read it. At the last meeting, Victor specifically, we had talked about the potential of, we run a certain number in our rate model and in our enterprise fund for reserve and reserve capacity. And we had talked about what happens if we might have to go up a little bit on an interest rate model, but if we can, quote, spend down some of that reserve and lessen rates, do we do that in the short term to kind of get through these next couple of years? And then obviously by that time, our capital investments is greatly diminishing and slowing. And so I don't know if y'all had a chance to kind of look at that and maybe even talk to Roebuck. What would that look like? I mean, I wouldn't want to give up a point or two, but if it gives up 50 basis points or 25 basis points because we do that, is it worth it for the short term? I don't know. It was something we had kind of discussed. So,
Indeed, Mayor, we had, and I have had the opportunity to talk with John Roebuck, our financial advisor, and his view is that if we keep within the broad parameters that we've already set for our fund balance, that he doesn't anticipate any impact on the interest rate. So that's work in progress. We're still looking at what opportunities over the next couple of years we have to, while maintaining a reasonable fund balance, releasing some more of that back into the fund. And in fact, in this year, we were able to achieve some of that already. We've had the benefit of, that's one of the reasons that we're looking at a 5.5% rather than a 7%, even with all the other constraints from decreased revenues and some increased costs for Reflection Bay. So even with all of that, because we released some cash back into the fund, we got it to 5.5%. I can't sit here and give you an absolute guarantee next year it will be of that magnitude or what it will look like, but we will be doing that over the course of this year, reviewing what our fund balance policies need to be that are reasonable, but not maintaining excess cash.
right. Okay. I just know that was something we were looking at in the short term. We could lower that and go back to normal reserves once you get through it and probably be fine. So again, and as we get to the 27 budget a year from now, that might be something to look at, to marginalize that 16.7, and who knows, that 16.7 may actually be a 13% number, by this time next year because of water and how much, usage and all those kind of things. I know it's a little bit of a dart against the dartboard with some calculations on how much water usage, but we have another drought year and we'll see that go up. So not that I want to pray for a drought ever. That's not good for us. Any other questions or comments? Wow. Probably the fastest budget workshop on history. We could have just teed up everything else at the same time and just, move right into the next one. So Trent and staff, I mean, what follow-ups do you guys have?
I think just to confirm, using that additional fund balance, the $300,000 towards streets, just making sure everybody's comfortable with that. I didn't see anybody not
Yes.
wanting to do that. So
Yes, absolutely.
I think we're good there. And I think, that wraps up what we have at this point. Obviously, as we head into the public hearings and the first and second readings, if there's any additional questions, we're always available. And just a reminder on the vote on the tax rate itself is that since we are that 1 penny above the no new revenue rate, that requires 60% voting in favor of where we set the tax rate. So that requires 5 votes. So for those adopting the tax rate at 63 cents. So,
Mr. Koza, you had a follow-up?
Yes, Trent, when you said 300,000 on the roads, the half cent represented 700,000, correct?
yes. So if we were to
So
go
another
63 and a half, that's about $700,000. But we're proposing we stay at 63 cents. We had even with the budget we proposed throughout, we had about $300,000, just slightly above that, above our revenue reserve requirement, and to use that and take us basically down to our minimal reserve requirement of 90 days. Can we pull that screen back up?
That's why I just wanted clarification.
Sure.
It's not
So it's-
raising the tax rate, it's leaving it at 63.
Yeah, no, I get, but that's what I was just, if we were to go at 63.5, if it did end up there. Yeah,
The
700.
big picture, General, I think it's
Yeah.
one right before that.
Yeah.
Also,
So go to the chart that shows the budget.
right there.
There we go.
Yeah.
So over there, bottom right-hand corner, 91 days of reserves, 313 over our minimum 90-day target. So we're proposing to use that 300 into streets.
That's all, I just wanted clarification on.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All good. Last call.
Yeah, Trent, can you kind of said that really quickly. If we need 5 to set the tax rate, and what happens if we don't have 5?
So if we don't have 5, it will revert to the no new revenue rate.
Which is,
We would have to remove about 1.5 to 1.7 out of the proposed budget at the no new revenue rate.
Are you asking what the actual rate would be? It's a fraction under 62 cents.
okay. But the impact is 1.7
Correct.
to the proposed budget.
The proposed budget, we would have to take 1.7 million in expenditures out of the proposed budget to meet the new revenue rate.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Patel?
Do you have a scenario, if that happens, of what we're going to cut out?
I think we'd have to start with the additional funds we put into streets for next year, as well as take a look at the the pay increases we've proposed in the areas that are not covered by the meet and confer agreement.
Can we get a listing of where you would guys come up with this maybe 2 options? Is that possible? Just for us to kind of review?
Sure.
Something to think about. So, yep. Any other follow-up? With that, I'm going to gavel this special meeting and workshop over our budget to adjournment at 4:17.